Hi, this is Kimberly, and I'm going to talk about talking clocks and talking watches. So the first clock I want to talk about it's kind of large. It's got a large display on it. It's a little costly. It's nearly $50. But the nice thing about this clock is it has a bar across the top. It's easy to locate. You can push it.
The time is now 27 minutes past 1 p.m.
And it'll announce the time. If you want to know the date, you go to the bar below the display, push it once.
Today, Sunday, June 10th.
And it'll give you the date. That changed the mode, so now every time you hit the bar on the top, it's going to announce the date.
Today, Sunday, June 10th.
It'll also do
the room temperature is 80 degrees Fahrenheit.
The indoor temperature, and if I had the little sensor set up outside, the next time I hit the mode button, it would go to outdoor temperature. This clock also has an hourly announce that starts at announcing at 8 a.m. and turns off at 10 p.m. You also have a switch to turn the announce on and off if you don't want to have it announcing. So that's a pretty nice clock. It's an atomic clock. The next one I'm going to talk about is atomic as well. It has a large display. It's not as costly. It has two buttons on the front to set the clock.
The time is now 28 minutes past 11 a.m.
I find a lot of clients like this large display because they still want to continue to look at the clock, even though it talks. And this one, like I said, is atomic too. So the next clock I'm going to talk about is a travel clock.
It is 2:03 p.m.
And that's as loud as it gets. So if you have a client who is hearing impaired, this is not the clock for them. It's easy to set. It has three buttons across the front, a switch to make it quieter. It has a very small display. Clients like this one because it's portable. One of my clients bought it and took it on a cruise. This clock is one of my favorites, especially for clients that are hearing impaired. It's easy to operate. There's one button on the top.
The time is 1:33 a.m.
If I hit it again,
the date is June 11th, Monday.
So it will give you the time and the date. The problem with this clock is it's difficult to set. There's a little teeny tiny button on the bottom right here that you have to hit to change the mode. Then you have to push the front to get the clock where you want. So when you hit the mode button, it would say set hour. And every time you hit the button on the front, it would say 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So then when you get the hour set, then you would have to hit the mode button again and then do the procedure all over again to get your minutes set. And then the next thing would be set date, and then I think the last one is set alarm. But it's simple to set. The difficulty is locating that button. This is a cube clock. It has two buttons on the top.
The time is 12:52 a.m. The time is 12:52 a.m.
The buttons on the top, one's for the time.
Sunday, May 1st,
and one's for the date.
2011.
This is another one that is good for the hearing impaired. It has a very small display on the bottom, and it has 3-4 buttons on the bottom to set the clock. And I guess the little display, I would say, is for persons who are sighted that are trying to set the clock. But it's pretty easy to set, and it's a nice little clock, and it's a travel clock as well. So let's talk about talking watches. This can be a man's or a lady's watch. It has 4 buttons. One is for the time. And the other is for the date. The other 2 are for setting the watch. So, moving along. Let's see which one I have here. The next one I have is a lady's talking watch. And it only has 2 buttons.
The time is 12:23 p.m.
Actually, I'm sorry. One is a button and one is to set the watch with, and that's it.
The time is 12:23 p.m.
Talking watches come in silver and gold, or are both gold and silver. Some have leather bands. Some are atomic. So you have a wide variety with the talking watches. But you know, for my clients that have cell phones, I remind them that, you know, you've got a timepiece right there on your hip, for those that carry it on their hip. Another thing is I always have in my kit a Braille watch, because I remind clients that if they can read a clock with Roman numerals, they can most likely read a Braille watch, because there are 2 bumps at the 12, 2 at the 6, 2 at the 9, and 2 at the 3. And everywhere else there is 1 bump. The nice thing about the Braille watches is if you are in a meeting or in church and you want to check the time, you can do it very discreetly. I also talk to my clients about the Amazon Echo, which is a device that's in the home that is sold through Amazon. It needs Wi-Fi, but it's very nice because all the client has to say is, "Alexa, what time is it?" And she will announce the time or the date. You can also set timers and reminders and those sorts of things. So that's pretty much my presentation on talking clocks and talking watches.